Happy new month to everybody that is online. Happy new month. I hope and trust that you're doing good. And so far, so good. So, a very warm welcome to our motivational segment this evening. If you're watching from within Southern Africa, afternoon, morning, wherever you're watching from, I just want to welcome you to Moments with Inonge. And once again, happy new month. As per tradition, every first day of the month, I get to unveil what the theme for the month is. Every time we have a theme, and that from based on that theme, we actually, draw our lessons, our teachings, our encouragements, our motivations, and so forth and so forth. So, just to take us on in our motivational segment, I just want to share very, very quickly what our theme for this month, February, is, and then we can get a little more talking. We can get a little more talking. So, good evening, happy new month to everybody that is watching. And, first things first, let's just go straight into the theme for this month. The theme for this month is we are in charge of our lives. We are in charge of our lives. We are in charge of our lives. And this theme is actually taken from the book of Deuteronomy 30 and verse 19. Deuteronomy 30 and verse 19. And the Bible reads, I call heaven and earth to record this day against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore, choose life that both you and your children may live. I like that part. Therefore, choose life that both you and your children may live. So, our theme actually is we are in charge of our lives. So, when you think about it, why did I actually come up with this theme? It is based on the realization from this scripture that, you know what, God has given us the ability to choose what we make out of our lives. We don't live this life, being directed or being forced to doing things, but rather we choose. Every day we have a choice. Every day we have a choice. So actually, how this whole theme, we are in charge of our lives, works is that we are in charge of our lives based on the choices that we actually make. We've seen from that scripture in Deuteronomy 30 and verse 19, where the Bible is telling us that God is saying, I have set before you life and death. So you've got to choose between life and death. I have set before you blessing and cursing. So you've got to choose between blessing and cursing. And then the Bible goes on to admonish us to say, therefore, choose life that both you and your children may live, that both you and your children may live. So, having looked at that scripture, I think we can draw from that scripture that really, whether, we end up living a life, that is prosperous or a life that is empty is basically determined on the choices that we make, because some versions of this scripture say, I have put before you, prosperity. Prosperity. The other way for life is actually prosperity. So we tend to see that in life, most of the things that we do are based on the choices that we make. Most of the things that we go through are actually based on the decisions that we take. So just in unveiling the theme for our month of February, which is we are in charge of our lives, I just want to remind each and every person to say, don't live life to chance. Be in charge of your life. Be in charge of your life. Don't look down upon yourself, because there is nothing that looking down upon yourself is going to do. You have to take charge. You have to be in charge. Every day that you wake up, you need to be in charge of the day. You need to make up your mind, to become a better version of yourself than you were yesterday. So literally, you're going to see that it's not, how you were born, where you were born, like it's really so much not entirely up to the circumstances that surround us, because truth be told is, when we look at this time, a time of COVID-19, there's a lot of downsizing in companies. Companies are closing, businesses are closing, people are being laid off from work, people are being made redundant, but at the end of the day, there is something that actually made me, gain momentum in this time of COVID, is that I looked at other friends that I have, and I could see that during this same time of COVID, their business has actually flourished more than it ever flourished. I mean, they are doing things in this time of COVID that they've never done before. Others are building houses, others are getting new cars, others are starting up new businesses, others are expanding their businesses. So really, it's up to you to take charge of your life. It's really up to you to take charge of your life. And because this is a motivational segment, which I've also combined with unveiling of the theme for the month, I really want to admonish you to say, look at you, look at you, look at me. Basically, the people that are watching right now, I mean, if you look at yourself really, you've got no excuse but to make it in this life. There are people that have had it worse than you, but they've actually made something out of their life because of the choice they decided to make. Because of the choice they made, actually. The choice that, they'll not let life happen to them, but, they'll take it upon themselves and live a great life. So you can actually make a choice today to become a better version of yourself, regardless of where you were born, regardless of the disability that you have. Because on today's motivational segment, I don't want to do a lot of talking. I just want you to know that, you see, God has given us a choice, either to choose life or death, meaning God has given us a choice whether to be prosperous or not, meaning God has given us a choice, to actually direct our lives in the way that we want them to go. So at the end of the day, you don't have anyone to blame. You don't have your mother to blame. You don't have your sisters to blame. You've got nobody to blame but yourself. And just to take the words out of my mouth and let them be more practical, more practical. On tonight's motivational segment, I have something that is going to inspire you not to actually make excuses anymore, not to actually look down on yourself, but actually to actually gain momentum, and by all means, keep moving. So I ain't doing much talking. I'm just here to share the theme, which is we're in charge of our lives. And the anchor scripture for that is Deuteronomy 30 and verse 19. So as I share this clip that I found, that is just going to move you to the point where you say, you know what, I think Inonge is right. And the theme for Moments with Inonge actually serves me right. I'm in charge of my life. We are in charge of our lives. I mean, we've got no excuse but to keep moving, however. So I'm going to share this clip and do less talking. I love to talk. Yeah. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to share this clip, and guys, be inspired as you watch. Be inspired as you watch. Be encouraged as you watch, and quit making excuses over your life. Get moving by all means.
And some of you have thought of suicide. Some of you are in the darkest of darkest valleys. And I was there once too. I was 8 years old, depressed. 9 years old, even darker. At 10 years old, I came to the edge. And I thought to myself, there is no hope. At age 10, I tried to drown myself in 6 inches or 15 centimeters of water in my home. I told my dad I just wanted to relax. But really, I wanted to end my life. I had enough. The first 2 times I rolled over,
was trying to work out how much air I hold in my lungs before I let it out. The third time, in my mind, knowing that I wanted to get out of here because of the bullying in my life, because I was going to be a burden to my parents and I had nothing to look forward to, I realized at that moment that if I actually went through with committing suicide, I would leave a greater burden for my parents than they already had. So when I saw in my mind my mom and my dad and my brother crying at my grave if I went through with them, that one thought saved me. The power of encouragement. You can save a person's life.
You may have arms and legs, but unless you know three things. Number one, who are you and what your value is? Number two, what is your purpose here in life? And number three, what is your destiny when you're done here? If you don't know the answers of any of those three questions, you're more disabled than I.
If I gave you $1 billion, would you be happy? If you gave me $1 billion, I'd be very happy. But then if my mum dies tonight, am I happy? No.
But life is worth living when you find purpose. Nick, I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know. My parents want me to do this. My teachers want me to do that. My friends think that I should do this, and I don't know what to do. And you're torn, man. You don't know what to do. You have to make important decisions, man. You don't know what to do. Who do you believe? Follow your heart. If that's who you want to be, if that's what you want to do in life, then walk to it. One day at a time.
You got to come to the truth of knowing who you are and why you're here. William Barclay, he said, the greatest 2 days in anyone's life, the day you were born and the day you knew why.
I know that there are 1 billion people going hungry today. I know that this year 1 million people will commit suicide. It's 1 every 40 seconds. I know today there are 120 million slaves, and I've met sex slaves. So many people tease each other. Oh, you know, you're too short, you're too tall, you look whatever. Different hair and all that. It doesn't matter. See, the thing is, when you're in school, when you're growing up in life, it actually sort of matters to people how you look. And then it matters to you because it matters to others. Why? Why does it matter how you look? Because if they don't like you, then who will? If they don't accept you, then who will? I know so many teenagers who look themselves in the mirror and wish that they had a different body. I want to ask you, what are you going to believe? Are you going to believe in yourself? Are you going to believe everybody else's judgment on you? Are you going to believe people when they say that you're a failure and no one really likes you, no one really cares about you?
That's what this world is. I want to look like her. If I was taller, shorter, smarter, more popular, whatever you want. It's not enough.
And the fear that we have is that we're going to be alone, that we're not good enough. And, you know, we have to change ourselves. You know, so many people put me down and say, Nick, you look too weird and no one's really offended. You can't do this and you can't do that. And I couldn't change anything. It's not like just fixing my hair one day and everything's fine. It's not like, you know, just whatever. I couldn't change my circumstance. I couldn't just one day wake up and say, hey, give me arms and legs. I need arms and legs. But it was so hard because people put me down. And I started believing that I was not good enough. I started believing that I was a failure, that I'd never ever be somebody who people would like or people would accept. And it was so hard, man. I thought to myself, I can't go on the soccer field like everybody else, and I can't ride my bike, and I can't skateboard, and all these sort of things. And I started getting depressed. I thought, what kind of purpose do I have to live? I mean, are you just here to live to die? I mean, is there not a purpose for me? Is there not a purpose in life? And I had questions and no answers. And I asked my mom and dad, why did this happen? I asked doctors, why did this happen? They don't know. There are some things in life that are out of your control that you can't change and you got to live with. The choice that we have, though, is either to give up or keep on going.
Every single human being has value, and my value is not determined on how I look or what job I have or where I'm from, where I was born, how much money, all that stuff, nothing.
And it's funny how the friends around you sort of determine who you are. You change yourself. You come to school. And everybody swore around me in high school, so I started swearing. Why? Because it's the cool thing to do. Everybody swears. So I don't want to be left out, and I want to be accepted, so I started swearing. You go to a party, everybody's drinking, so you drink. Why? Well, everybody else around me is doing a big deal. And you start losing yourself, and you start putting your security in temporary things. You start putting your happiness in things that won't last. You can get drunk all you like, but in the morning, you're going to be sober with a headache with the same problems.
Nick, you're not good enough. Nick, just give up. Nick, you're never going to get a job. You won't get married. You can't even hold your wife's hand. What kind of a father are you going to be if you can't even pick up your kids when they're crying?
But I tell you, there are some times in life where you fall down and you feel like you don't have the strength to get back up. Because I tell you, I'm down here, face down, and I have no arms, no legs. It should be impossible for me to get back up, but it's not. You see, I will try 100 times to get up, and if I fail 100 times, if I fail and I give up, do you think that I'm ever going to get up? No. But if I fail, I try again and again and again. For as long as I try, there's always that chance of getting up. Does that make sense? And it's not the end until you've given up. And just the fact that you're here should persuade you that you have another chance to get back up. That we have a choice, either to be angry for what we don't have or be thankful for what we do have. You have a choice every day you come to school to either tease somebody, gossip about somebody, or you can go up to them and encourage them. There's still hope. I'm not here today to tell you that I understand your pain. I don't know how it feels to be abused. I don't know how it feels to feel, quote, fat and you've got an eating disorder. I don't know how it feels to have a broken home. But I just want you to know that it's not the end. It matters how you're going to finish. Are you going to finish strong? At age 10, I actually tried to commit suicide by trying to drown myself in my bathtub. And the only reason I decided to stay was because I didn't want to leave my loved ones with that pain. So I decided to give my broken pieces a chance. Man, am I glad that I'm still here. Today, I still have no arms, no legs, but everything's changed. When I'm 24 years old, 5-6 years ago, I was in California, and I never met anybody else like me. When I was 10 years old, I wish I would have met somebody like me. Never did. Didn't get that miracle. But at 24, in California, I saw a little boy with no arms and no legs, 19 months old, just like me. I knew he was going to be bullied. I knew he was going to go through depression. I knew he would feel alone. I knew that he would get worried if he's ever going to have a girlfriend, and so on and so on. I got the father to bring him up on stage in front of 2,000 people. And everyone was crying. And it was a materialization of when you don't get a miracle, you can be a miracle for someone else. Think of the 3 biggest discouragers in your life. They're not your biggest discouragers. You are. But I hope you are inspired to know that if I can dream big, then so can you. There are no walls.
find your peace, and you'll make your walls doors.
Breathtaking, I must say. I mean, if somebody like Nick can dream big, why can't you dream big? If somebody like him can give life a chance, why can't you give life a chance? Nick is married. He's got 2 sons and twin girls by the grace of God. He's living a purpose-driven life because he decided not to give up. What is your decision for not trying? What excuse are you making for not going out there and doing something about your life, doing something that will make your life better and make the lives of your children better? When you look at Nick and when you look at yourself, who should be making excuses? And if you can answer that question, then I believe by all means you will keep moving. I don't have much to say. I don't have much to add to that. I just want to remind you that it's not about anybody else but you. This is why the theme for this month of February is we are in charge of our lives. God has given us the opportunity to choose between life and death. The choice is up to you and I. So I hope that you have been motivated to keep moving by all means. And as we just wrap up, I'm just going to go ahead and read the comments that you've been sending in. And if you feel touched in any way or would want to share anything, please just drop that comment and let's, encourage one another on how we are actually in charge of our lives, and we should not let, we should not actually live life by chance. So we have a comment from Precious, and Precious says, watching mommy. Thank you so much, baby girl. Thank you for tuning in. And, thank you for being part and parcel of Moments with Inonge. Precious, I do hope and trust that you have watched and you are inspired to keep moving. And we have a comment from Sama, and Sama is connected from Zimbabwe. Thank you so much for tuning into our motivational segment. I hope that you have been motivated. And please, guys, for those that are watching, please just share something about tonight's segment, that just that short clip that has actually touched your heart, or that has just actually moved you. And we have a comment from Moses. Moses, thank you so much for tuning into our motivational segment. And your comment says he is an inspiration, just like you, Coach. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, my father of many nations. Thank you so much for that comment. And we have a comment from Kufa. And Kufa says, watching from Lusaka West. Feels good to be following this segment today. Well, Kufa, I'm glad you are actually, glad you could actually follow this segment today, because you know what, once in a while, we just need to remind ourselves and each other that, we've got this. Sometimes life may seem to be, it may look so bad, but trust me, it's not as bad as it looks if we don't give up. And we have another comment from Kufa. Kufa says, wow, so touching, inspired. Thank you so much. And Precious goes ahead and drops another comment and says, so touching, indeed, so touching. And we have a comment from Musama, and Musama goes ahead and says, a touching story for real, indeed. You know, that was a touching story for real. And, you know, we thank God that it's a real life story that we can actually look at and draw inspiration from. I mean, you know, for a kid to be at 8, 9, 10 and think about committing suicide, you know, it just goes to really, really show how, you know, how tough his life was. But when you look at him today and you look at the impact that he's making, you know, Nick has traveled in more than 46 countries. You know, he's traveled in more than 46 countries and has spoken to a crowd of more than if I'm not mistaken, that should be a crowd of more than 8,000. Is it 8,000 or so? Somewhere there. I don't really have my facts right, but he's really spoken to a crowd of, you know, a lot of people and inspired them. You know, there are so many videos that you can go ahead and watch concerning Nick, you know, how he doesn't look down on himself, how he uses that leg of his, you know, to do so many things. And, you know, these are some of the things that we take for granted, you know, we really take for granted. But once in a while, it's really good to, you know, remind ourselves, you know, that we actually, it's not as bad. It's not as bad as we think it is. And if Nick can go out there and do something and, you know, make his life meaningful, so can we, you know. So we have a comment from Kufa, and Kufa says, "We are good at making excuses and complaining. Nick reminds us of that. We should decolonize our minds from the laziness and the blame game." That's very, very true. Powerful comment there, Kufa, because it's very, very true. We make excuses. Like right now, a lot of people are talking about, oh, how, you know, once COVID is done, I'm going to start moving, I'm going to start doing this, I'm going to start doing that. But I mean, we don't really know for how long COVID is going to last. You know, so why not get started? Why not, you know, take those baby steps? You know, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. You know, so we keep moving, guys. We keep moving. So that is what I had to share on our motivational segment tonight. I'm really, really looking forward to the leadership segment, because even on the leadership segment, we have something nice, something interesting. And so if I were you, and I know you will, please stay tuned for the leadership segment. And I love you so much. Remember, our theme for this month is we're in charge of our lives. That means that we are not blaming anyone for the misfortune, but rather we are taking charge. Yes, misfortune may have fallen upon us, but we still arise. We still get up. We still try, and we try until we no longer have breath in our lives. I mean, that's the time that we're going to say, you know what? I'm done trying on life. You know, so that is what I had for you guys on the motivational segment. Please stay tuned for the leadership segment. Love you all. And remember, we are in charge of our lives. Good night, depending on where you're watching from. Good morning, depending on where you're watching from. Good afternoon, depending on where you're watching from. Love you lots.